So I was going to ask you perhaps one last question from a musculoskeletal ultrasound point of view, aside from entrapment neuropathies, say for the person who has an injury, either the recreational tennis player who comes to the general practitioner or sports related, what would be your next most common reason to defer to ultrasound, either for diagnosis or treatment?
Yeah, probably some type of tendinopathy, including rotator cuff tendinopathy. You can see tennis elbow. Again, you need ultrasound to diagnose tennis elbow, but sometimes you can see severity. If you see a fairly normal looking tendon on the ultrasound, you may reassure them you just need more time. If you see a lot of hypoechoic structures, maybe you're convinced they have more of a larger tear of the common extensor. I see just a lot of rotator cuff pathology in my practice. And for me, it really changes my practice because the person comes in, and we've all seen this story, atraumatic shoulder pain, been going on for 6 months, haven't really done therapy. My typical treatment pre-ultrasound was give them an injection of steroids subacromial, send them to physical therapy. Now I add the ultrasound, and if I see a massive rotator cuff tear, I often will not do the injection and send them for an MRI. So it actually can change practice sometimes. Whereas if I do the typical, ultrasound, it shows some subacromial bursitis, the rotator cuff looks largely intact, then I continue as planned. I do the ultrasound and then send them to physical therapy. So in certain scenarios, it can change practice.
How about for tennis elbow or something like that? Does it helpful there?
I think it is helpful sometimes if they have like a large traction and testophyte. You can see that. It often kind of confirms the diagnosis. I know there's a lot of debate now, radial tunnel versus tennis elbow. Do they overlap a little bit? Again, a lot of this is on physical exam, but if you see some degenerated tendon over the lateral condyle, it would definitely not push me towards surgery right away, but it may make me go to a little sooner. If I look at somebody and the tendon looks very, very normal, I'm going to try to push them the classic 12 to 18 months. If I see someone that has just very advanced tendinopathy, I might operate on them a little bit sooner. Definitely not on the first visit, but I may push them in a little bit sooner than if not.
And tendinitis is lower down in the arm, like around the wrist and so on. Do you use it there at all?
Yeah, I actually find it relatively helpful for ECU tendinitis and subluxation. You get people popping and clicking in their wrist. That's sometimes symptomatic. Ultrasound's a very dynamic test, and you can actually see the ECU tendon sublux out of the ulnar groove. I see it a lot for like extensor tendinosynovitis. Sometimes you're kind of like, is it ganglion, is extensor tendinosynovitis? And I can use that to inject around the tendons or diagnose that. And then I see a lot of FCR tendinitis as well. You see the FCR tendon, you kind of get this black halo around it. And again, that kind of confirms the diagnosis, and I'll often inject into the FCR sheath under the ultrasound guidance as well.
That's a
It can
nice
also be
thing.
helpful for de Quervains to look for a separate subcompartment. We all know that people who have a separate subcompartment for the EPB often don't do as well with non-op treatment. So again, I still would inject them and try to get in both compartments, but I'm much more likely to recommend the surgery after failure of the first injection. Whereas a person that doesn't have a subcompartment, I'm probably injecting them maybe 2 or 3 times to get them through.
So the other advantages you alluded to is that it can be a dynamic study, and certainly dynamic MRIs are quite a difficult thing to get. But
Right.
this is very easy to do a dynamic study as well as get your static images.
Thank you for tuning in, and I hope this conversation has given you a preview of what's ahead at SMA's annual scientific assembly in Houston this year in November. We've built an engaging program designed to inform you, inspire you, and connect you with colleagues. Visit sma.org or scan the QR code to explore the full agenda and register. We would be delighted to have you join us.